France's parliament has approved a law aimed at fighting Islamist separatism by banning hate preachers and giving police the power to close. France's lower house voted on Tuesday in favor of the law built by the government as a riposte to religious groups attempting to undermine the draft legislation, which has been criticized for stigmatizing Muslims and giving the state new powers to limit speech and religious groups, was backed by a clear majority of MPs in the National Assembly. President Emmanuel Macron's centrist party rallied around the law, with 347 National Assembly lawmakers voting in favor, 151 against and 65 of the text will now be submitted to the upper house Senate, where Macron's party does not hold a majority. It's an extremely strong secular offensive, Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin told RTL Radio ahead of the vote Tuesday. It's a tough text, but necessary for the Republic. Among the more than 70 separate articles, the law expands the ability of the state to close places of worship and religious schools, as well as to ban extremist preachers. This article share amid concerns about the funding of mosques by Turkey, Qatar or Saudi Arabia. It requires religious groups to declare large foreign donations and have their account. It comes with presidential elections looming next year and with decades-long divisions about the integration of France's large Muslim population and the threat of Islamists causing fresh tensions. Macron and Darmanin in particular have been accused of pandering to far-right voters by exaggerating the danger of Islamist groups in the often marginalized immigrant communities found in. The government counters that the threat is real, pointing to repeated terror attacks and what Macron called the development of a counter-society that rejects secularism, equality and other French values and laws. Over the past week, a school teacher in a tough suburb southwest of Paris has come to national prominence over claims he needed police protection after receiving death threats for denouncing local right-wing parties. See him as a whistleblower warning about the danger of extremist groups, while those on the left have pointed to his provocative statements about Islam and accuse him of overstating. His case was picked up in the national media because of its echoes of the beheading of a school teacher, Samuel Paty, by a teenage Islamist last October that profoundly shocked the country. Paty was the subject of an online hate campaign started by a parent of a child at his school who objected to his showing of controversial cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad during a civics class about free speech. Paty's killing prompted the inclusion of a new crime in the draft law of disclosing personal information about someone while knowing it will put another crime of separatism, defined as threatening a public servant in order to gain a total or partial exemption or different application of the rules, would be punishable by up to 5 years. And with campaigning ahead of presidential and parliamentary elections already heating up, the right-wing opposition Republicans, LR, Party and the far-right National Rally have both said the bill does not go far. They have called for restrictions on the wearing of the Islamic veil, which they both view as a manifestation of Islamism, rather than an expression of cultural identity or religion. The government has rejected calls for a wider headscarf ban, but the law will expand the demand for religious neutrality in clothing to people working for private companies carrying out public service. Critics say Macron is seeking to harden his record on Islamism and security ahead of a likely rematch with far-right leader Marine Le Pen in next year's election. He pushed an initiative recently to ask 8 federations representing Muslims in France to sign a 10-point charter of principles, which 3 refused. The 43-year-old head of state is also accused of doing too little to counter discrimination and racism, though a new law and funding has been promised to help marginalized. Nearly 200 people demonstrated in Paris on Sunday against the bill, accusing it of reinforcing discrimination against Muslims. In January, a group of academics and campaigners wrote in the newspaper Liberation that the law was an unprecedented blow to religious freedom and the freedom to form association. In the wake of Paty's killing, the government used its existing powers to close several mosques and 2 leading Muslim organizations, the charity Baraka City and the Collective Against Islamophobia.